Alright, everybody, what is up? It is your boy Gimpzilla coming at you with another Infinite Tuesday drafting strategy video. What's different? I'm not in Hearthstone anymore. Playing some Faeria here, bringing you guys new game, new content, new draft format. And I'm going to be going through each pick by pick, telling you what I've experienced as I've climbed the Faeria draft ladder and what archetypes work and kind of how I navigate a draft from beginning to end. So starting off, we are a green, blue, yellow deck this time. And just my disclaimer or my initial thoughts when I see those three colors is I'm probably going green, blue. I'd say Faeria makes it very easy to force colors. Not saying that you should force colors necessarily, but seeing those three colors, I instantly jump to yellow being not a very strong card in Pandora. The creatures are rather small, the removal is sparse, and their mobility tricks combo well only when paired with other colors like blue or green to have buffs or shields or something like that to go with it. So yellow is like strictly movement, which isn't necessarily good if you don't have big creatures to back it up. So when I see these colors, I'm kind of eliminating yellow unless I get some really heavy bombs very early on. Like I would need an early Wind Rider like pack 1, the 3/1 haste. I would need a couple of those right away. I would need maybe some life drain right away, not put up against any other comparable red card or green card. So yellow's iffy. So as I enter this draft, I'm going to be thinking I probably am not going into yellow unless I get a very big bomb. First pick here, since I don't know whether I'm going to be green or blue dominant yet, I'd like to stay neutral. Tax Collector, a great neutral. Safeguard, a great neutral. Steamforge, great neutral. So I have 3 great neutrals, pack 1. Pack 1, pick 1 determines a lot of my draft and kind of where I'm going to go in the future. But I think Steamforge is actually going to be the most threatening card on the board. Safeguard, there's an argument for Safeguard being extremely strong. And I understand in essence Safeguard is a removal spell, and that's kind of how I'm looking at Safeguard, but I have no guarantee that I'm going to have gigantic creatures that really benefit from Safeguard. Like putting Safeguard on a 2/2 or a 3/3 is not beneficial, and I have no idea where my deck's going to end up. And a Steamforge is going to be great throughout the game no matter what time I put it down. Early game it's going to threaten his 5 drops with my 3 drops. And late game, it'll just be a huge threat on no matter what I put on the board. It'll just be growing and getting larger. So it's a control and an aggro card. So Steamforge keeps me the most open out of these 3 picks. Safeguard probably being the closest second. And Tax Collector if you got a certain strategy that you like to execute. But I think Steamforge is aggressive and controlling. So pack 1, pick 1. We're going to go Steamforge. Alright. Pack 2. We are given what I would call a one of blue card. Like you don't really want a lot of this. You don't really want a lot of Prophet of Tides. I'd say 1 or 2 is extremely strong. Moving lands in the early game, setting up some favorable trades in the early game is absolutely what you want to be doing in this game. Prophet of Tides, however, like I said, you only want 1. Picking it second is not necessarily a direction that you want to dive into. Although I do feel blue may be stronger than green. As of right now, I think the Elderwood Hermit is probably the strongest card on this pack. It does commit us to green, but it's a strong green card that's going to buff a friendly minion 2/4, which as that plays out in the field, if I have like a 4/6 forest guy who generates a forest, you guys understand who I'm talking about? If I have a 4/6 and then I put a 2/4 on him, then that is a crazy gigantic creature that nobody's going to be able to deal with. That's the whole point of green, is making creatures that nobody can deal with. In orange, the Orodim Fanatic is a very strong orange card. Probably one of the stronger orange cards because of the gift and allowing you to scoot a creature closer. But as I said before, orange is going to lead me down a bad path. I'm not ambitious to start orange. I'm not ambitious to dive into orange until I get ridiculous bombs in orange. So right now, I think the strongest pick in the pack is going to be just an easy farmer with the ability to buff. Okay, this is actually an interesting pick right here. I've already said that I'm probably committing to green-blue before the match starts, but this is maybe a lesson in if you should commit to two colors right away. It's not necessary in this instance. Like, I could go punishment, but Frogify is just hard removal. Absolutely amazing. Will deal with their biggest threats. Punishment is more of a kind of kill a farmer early on. Like, maybe you get to kill a Steamforge Colossus or whatever that thing is, the 6/5 for 6. Maybe you get to punish that, but in reality, I'm thinking green blue is the strongest colors. Frogify is one of the stronger removals in the entire format, so I'm gonna go ahead and just take a strong card and take Frogify. Also thinking that my Hermit is only 1 green, I'm very splashable right now. Like, I could just splash that green. Alright, here I have a choice pretty much between a Wood Elemental and a Gabrian Archon, since I've already committed to those two colors. I am given a choice of 2 fairly good commons. I'm probably leaning towards the Gabrian Archon. Just the mobility. Mobility, I feel, is the strongest attribute in all of Faeria. And having charge 2, it just threatens the opponent. They have to play a certain way. They can't exactly posture their characters how they'd like, because you're threatening to charge across the map and hit them with a 4/4 or hit them with a 6/6. Also, early game farming opportunities. You could be hitting your opponent's Faeria very early. So Gabrian Archon, I feel, is a stronger pick. Wood Elemental, very strong, nothing wrong with it. Like, strong common. Mobility, I think, overcomes. So we're going to try the Archon. Alright, pretty loaded pack. Wind Soldiers, these are what I was talking about. This is really what you need. Like, pack one, pick one. If you're going to go orange, you know, it needs to be a Wind Soldier. Or better. In our colors here, we're looking at a Tiki Caretaker or an Enora's Disciple. The Disciple, I'm sure many of you who have played the game understand the Disciple is a very strong card if it gets out of control. But I just want to note that I don't really have a guarantee. It's really early in the draft to be taking a Disciple. I could end up 100% creatures. It's hard to say, like 5 or 6 spells. You don't want to be taking... I mean, also, you should note for him, all the Pandora shards and stuff often give you spells. So the Disciple's that much better. He's very good. He's very good in Pandora, but I think the buff, it's like early game tempo swing. Like, if I can play out a large green creature and then he tries to play out like something bigger, and then I just have a Tiki Caretaker to go over his bigger thing and keep my large guy alive. Like, that's the strength in green. It's early game buffs, it's early game tempo board control. So this person will farm for me, and they will give me a battle attack and potential 2-for-1 on future combats. So Tiki Caretaker, I think, is the pick here. In green, we're looking for our buffs, and here they are. They gave us one. So right here, draft your removal, guys. Like, I can't emphasize that enough. Removal is so hard to come by, and even if it's a third of your deck, you know, maybe a third of your deck might be a little heavy. A little heavy. I don't even know. I would say drafting 8-9 removal cards is exactly where you want to be, regardless of power level. 1 damage, 2 damage, 5 damage, charge. Like, this Horsemaster can be considered removal in some instances. The more chances you have to take advantage and take the early trade and make them put 2 cards into your 1 creature, like whenever you can trade advantageously, any card that lets you do that, go ahead and take that. Punishment, early game removal card can kill their farmers. Like I said, can kill a big crazy neutral guy. You never know when those come down. Punishment, great removal card, great staple. Is a little better than the Horsemaster, I think. Horsemaster being extremely strong. Oh, look at this. This is like crazy artwork. Crazy artwork. That's all you gotta understand, is that it's pretty rare that I actually got that in the draft, but I'm not gonna take it here. sheer power level of these cards. Like Mere Phantasm is obviously a great card. Altar of Souls, another one of those yellow cards that's very rare, and if it came early enough in a pack or a draft, it might be a card that pulls me into yellow. Something that lets you refuel aggro in yellow, and one of the yellow staples. Like if you have an Altar of Souls, then you do have a reason to be in yellow. Otherwise, you should stay out. Because I've been kind of bad mouthing it the whole time, but that's really just to help you guys out. So what I've been kind of chatting around and dancing around is the Siege Engine right here. This guy is an absolute beast in Pandora mode. He is basically just a win condition, and in green he is that much more of a win condition because I have buffs, and I'm gonna have blue for shielding and protection. This guy gets out of control really quickly. Only like 5 attacks from him and the game is over. So your opponent's gonna be forced to forced to react first off, which puts you always in the benefit. Like if they are attacking you and pushing you onto your side, you can set up trades how you want. You can have your battle tricks how you want. Like it just gives you initiative in the battle, right? And if he's left unchecked, then he like I said, he gets out of control real quick, and he's gonna finish the game off in 4 or 5 turns. So Siege Engine, like an absolute bomb in almost every deck in Pandora. I'd love to hear what other people have to say and comment about it in the section down below. But Siege Engine like definitely gets 2 thumbs up for me in almost every format or every archetype in the meta right now. So Siege Engine I think is the easy pick. Mere Phantasm, anybody who's into the game and understands the new mythic cards, then you can smile at that and understand that it's rare that I would have that, and it's awesome, but I can't really pick it in this situation. I have it because I make good choices, I'll say that. Alright, anyways, Altar of Souls is a great yellow card. Royal Judge, I really didn't say anything about him. He is a phenomenal card. Without the Siege Engine, I would probably take the Mere Phantasm just because that is absolute hard removal. Sometimes a punishment just can't kill a 16/16, you know, and a Mere Phantasm is going to be able to transform that. A Siege Engine, however, is exactly what the opponent would want a Mere Phantasm. So why would I have a card that would deal with my bigger card? Anyways, guys, Siege Engine is the pick. This is a fun pick to talk about. That's why I'm stalling here so long. Hope you enjoyed it. Siege Engine coming into the team. Alright. So these are an interesting pick that kind of lets me talk a little about my beliefs in this game and kind of how the tempo works and how the mana works and all that fun stuff. A lot of people right here, I mean, I don't want to put words in your mouth or anything, but I'm sure a lot of people right here are jumping straight to the Gabriel Commander, possibly. They see Aquatic, he's cheap, he's 3 mana, he's 4 attack, he's charged 3, he gets flying, so he has like extreme mobility. He's early game, he can farm great, he has extreme mobility. But from my experience in Pandora, it's really just make a plethora of fat creatures. Like, if I had a 4/5 versus this guy, the 4/5 just wins. The 4/5 just wins because it's going to take 2 cards to remove the 4/5. Alright? So, with that theory in mind, like, just putting out more creatures, because removal is so sparse, like I was talking about. You can't have enough removal in this format, alright? Since removal is so sparse, like, you really got to think about any creature that you put in, and a 4/2 in reality is just going to trade off with a minion that you're not happy trading into. If your opponent's playing right, then your 4/2 is not going to get the trade it wants. Charge 3 helps, you know, and you could probably get an early game 1-for-1, but I don't know. In Pandora, when cards are, I don't know, it's easy enough to get a 2-for-1, so you might as well go for as many 2-for-1s as possible. Overgrown Tower over here, right on the left. That's why I did this big long-winded speech. It'll turn your 4/4s into 5/5s and just give you that edge 4 different times throughout a battle. Alright, so when you put a card, like when you put those 2 effects side by side, that's how you need to start thinking in your drafts is, I have 4 opportunities to put 1/1 on a creature and have a creature survive and cost my opponent an extra card or an extra trade or an extra character going into it. All right. So 4 opportunities to do that versus 1. Versus 1 with the commander. Okay. On top of that, in Faeria, like, you're just gonna need cheap cards, like a 2 mana, like dump it out of your hand. Like, you're not gonna be able to spend all of your mana on creatures efficiently, and having just like 2 throwaway mana that'll give you an attack bonus or something in combat, like a combat bonus, will absolutely put you ahead. It's all about trading. Like, this 2 mana is gonna make them put down an entire another card 2, 3, maybe 4 times, right? So 2 mana trades for potentially 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana worth of tempo. And tempo gives you extra orbs on the border. Tempo gives you extra hits on the face, like advantage on the face race. Like, alright, tempo is everything. Anyways, Overgrown Tower. Alright, here. Look at that. I got both my... I only have 2 mythics. All right, time for me to be honest. I only have 2 mythics, and I got both in this draft. It would have been cool to be a blue-orange deck with 2. I wonder what they look like in game. They're probably bordered like that too. All right. Anyways, pick right here is probably going to Water Elemental. It's an early game card. It can farm. It has mobility. Jump gives it potential to farm 2 Faeria in the beginning. That's really what I look for in my farmers, is like extremely abusive farmers. Essentially, my game type is charge them right down the middle, put some big minions out, make them deal with the big minion. As they're dealing with the big minion, I drop a cheap farmer who gets double advantage through jumping and charge or something like that, and just gain a slight Faeria lead and play more cards than them. And that's basically how I'm aiming to play most of my control matches and mid-range matches. So Water Elemental just accomplishes my game strategy. So I'm gonna go with Water Elemental. Safeguard, again, a very good pick, strong pick. If I had drafted maybe, all green huge guys, like a bunch of green 7/7s and, a gigantic water colossus or something like that, then a Safeguard would be the pick here. But playing with what I have, like, I need to go for just a solid body who's going to accomplish my strategy late game, regardless on if I get big creatures or not, which Safeguard will only accomplish if I have big creatures. Alright, here we go. And I believe I am looking at a Snowstorm Lancer for pretty much all the reasons that I just described on the previous turn. I could see a Living Willow being pretty good. Like, I don't see why I couldn't play with the Living Willow. Like, I already have 2 buff cards, 3 buff cards potentially. But I value jump. Like, I've been saying it the whole time. I really value mobility. I value jump, and if you can buff him with an event and he trades, like I said, anytime you can trade, that's great. Alright, here's some picks. Here's an actual choice. Spell Whirl or Viridian Force. Probably leaning towards the Force. Just having the guaranteed creature. This is literally the old wives' saying or whatever of a bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush, right? So a 7/7 for 6 mana is awesome. It's efficient. It's great. It's beautiful. It's in my colors. Spell Whirl is 2 random blue cards. Yeah, I could get a Tail of the Turtle and another Spell Whirl, or I could get like 2 fish, Like, yeah, that's just the game, and I'd rather go for the consistency. Viridian Force is an awesome early game threat. Since he's only 6 mana, you can play him on turn 2 almost, and if you have like an Explorer, you'll be playing him turn 2 halfway down the field, like charging your opponent and making him react to it. So Viridian Force, just, I don't know, a powerful threat, and I feel the guaranteed threat is better than the random effects of the spell roll. So here we go. Alright, we're granted an epic. Nothing too amazing. I wouldn't call any of this too amazing. What's kind of my strategy right now? So like, yeah, if I had the safeguards, the Ursus gets a little better. Just because I could save him at like a low life. As of right now, I mean, I have some buffs. This guy would get more buffs. He's potentially a like a 4/8, like a 4/8 charge 2 creature. Is that very good? I don't think that's very good in green, just because green kind of needs to one-shot their creatures. We'll see. I mean, I've never drafted an Ursus. Aurora's Trick, powerful. Like, it's really powerful. I can't deny it. Like, maybe even more powerful than either of these would have on any effect on the board, you know? But I can buff my Ursus. If I can buff it and have it hit like a 3 health guy, I think the Ursus is the best pick. It's just the biggest threat. Aura's Trick is really hard to execute. That's what I was trying to emphasize. It costs 5 lakes. It's very hard to execute. Very strong, very hard to execute. Twin Soul Spirit, another good blue-yellow card. I don't know. Like I told you guys that I would point out some good orange cards, and perhaps if I saw some of these on pick 1, 2, 3, I might dip my toes into orange. Drafting a Twin Souls on turn 1, 2, or 3 though is risky because of the 2 mana. I don't want to get misquoted here. So Possessed Ursus, good card all around. I have the buffs to make it better off the start. 8 butt makes it huge, makes it hard to deal with, and then it's just gonna grow. So I think the Ursus is the pick here. Aura's Trick just a little too hard to execute. Here's a blue spell, not too hard to execute. Unbound Evolution, very strong. It's a pseudo removal spell or a potential buff on one of your characters. Like if you can have one of your 4-drops trade, stay alive at 1 health, Unbound Evolution up to a fresh 6-drop. That's great. Turn a 6 to an 8. Great. Anyways, the power should just describe itself. Say you're pushing the orb. Your opponent plays a gigantic taunt that you just can't deal with. Unbound Evolution the taunt. It's no longer a taunt. You can just continue to attack face. Unbound Evolution has like a plethora of uses. It's definitely the most utility here. So I feel it's the strongest. New Outcast Tower, never played with it, never seen it on the board. It has a brand new effect. Empty all the Faeria wells. Could go anyway. Cartographer, like if you get, the only way I see myself really drafting a Cartographer in Pandora, since it doesn't really have a card benefit, it doesn't have a mana benefit, it has a land benefit, so that's like strictly if you're in a disgusting like 3-color deck. Yeah, try and stay away from picks like that. Like he looks like he does a lot, but in reality, like you don't need the land. Like you don't need to be spawning creatures on your opponent all the time. Like you just need a couple well-placed land here and there. And yeah, I don't know. Stay away. Unbound Evolution here, easy pick. Let's just get it going and on to the next one. Alright, being the big green fatties that I am, I'm going to go with the Gabriel Warden. Hopefully I'll have enough mana for it, I'll have a big enough creature for it, and I get benefit from a protection shield. Safeguard, essentially. Alright. Here's a tough pick. Everbloom Wisp, not exciting, really, not particularly stellar. I feel. I don't know. I've never drafted it, so I can't say I've played with it. But I know late game, like I'd rather be playing +1 mana than I would drop a forest, essentially. So I don't think I need to take the Everbloom Wisp. The Plague Bearer here actually is going to help us out because our strategy is kind of go for bigger creatures than our opponent, right? So if we have, you know, say we have a Plague Bearer down and we drop our possessed Ursus, hits our Ursus right away, kills 2 or 3 of their guys, finishes them off. I think pinging abilities are extra important when I'm in colors like green and blue that don't have a lot of direct damage. Just having a surprise like, hey, I can finish that creature off even though you buffed it and you think I can't. I actually can. Stuff like that is very important in colors that aren't known for it. So I think Plague Bearer is going to do us a lot of good. Combos with our Frogify, our Ursus, and just our Viridian Forest, just our big creatures in general that aren't going to die to it. So, Plague Bearer. I'm going to go with a Tiki Caretaker. Oak Father is interesting. Like, maybe if I took the Wisp on the last pick, like, maybe if I want to spam a bunch of Forest. He is a gigantic creature, but, I mean, I already have big creatures, and the Tiki Caretaker just makes any of my big creatures bigger and better. So yeah, I think the buff has more potential in the early game, and yeah, it's fine in the late game too. Snowstorm Lancer's fine. He's not great like when you pick up multiple. Like, I already have one for flavor. I already have one that I can kind of manipulate and play around to my benefit. As I get more, he's not a first round draft, so to speak. I think the Oak Father would be better than the Lancer, but I think the Caretaker just has great early game potential and game changing potential. So, all right, if you guys have been following my draft pattern, I very much like the buffs. I think the buffs are what are going to win me a lot of fights. Aurora's Disciple, just a strong creature. You got to build him up from scratch, which makes him a little more difficult. Let's see, I got 1, 2, 3 spells at the moment. 3 spells over halfway through the deck. I don't think I'm really a Disciple deck. I'm going to pick up a 4 spell, and maybe if another Disciple comes around, I can reconsider. Alright, I get a Rainforest Explorer right in my colors. Awesome news to me. 4/6 for 4 mana. I think that's great stat line. Like a 4/4 for 4 is good, so a 4/6 is great. Potential Outland Ranger. I like the Outland Ranger. I like him for farming. Rainforest Explorer can farm almost just as well. Outland Ranger lets you do some cute tricks. We already have a tower. I don't feel tower's the strongest, but it is strong in situations. Just having like a solid creature, especially a neutral creature, lets you put it on any type of land, any time. I think the Rainforest Explorer is good here. 4 mana, good stats in our colors. This guy's pretty strong. Just from my experience in Pandora, like giving 3/5 to a creature, if it goes on the wrong creature, then that's almost game over. Like if 3/5 randomly ends up on my possessed Ursus, like you better hope you have a Frogify or the game is over. So yeah, Soulbound Sangami, however you pronounce that, has game-winning potential, so we're gonna take it. Anything with game-winning potential, we want in our arsenal, right? Falcon Dive, not bad. Definitely, probably the pick behind the Sagami. Solid creature is going to be better than kind of a random removal spell, but having those Falcon Dives is important. Again, this is the exact same matchup. Solid creature versus Falcon Dive. And being a green deck, being just, I want to be bigger, I want to put threats down that they are scared of, that they want to deal with right away. Runin's Champion is exactly a creature that they want to deal with right away. Adding a 3/3 creature, giving it 3/3, or adding a random green creature, giving it 3/3 is very, 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 very scary. So, by all means, Runin's Champion is threatening, and we're going to take him. Alright, we read the signs, we were drafting all the good green that came to us, and it looks like we're going to be rewarded with another great green card. Rune and Shrine is like really strong. You drop it late game. Like if it has one hit on it, 1 hit point, it absorbs an entire hit. So if you can arrange like your attacks into creatures and have the Shrine absorb it down to like 1 or 2 HP, and then he has to attack it with a 7 attack creature, it's game over. It's game over. Rune and Shrine has amazing utility, especially in a green deck, especially when my strategy is ram big things against big things. So Rune and Shrine, we're gonna take it. Hit with another epic. This is looking like a pretty decent draft. I'm pretty excited to get my hands going. I'm thinking it might be Yak Attack. Yak Attack is not amazing. It used to be one of the most, instant pick powerhouse cards. As of right now, I'm thinking maybe the Ludin. Like if I can just play aggressive, get up in his face, drop that on his side of the map. Anything that's going to give me card potential, essentially. But, the Yak Attack is removal spells. It's just guaranteed removal. It's guaranteed removal, and it leaves a creature, you can leave one behind to pick up Faeria out of the wells. Sometimes you get Ludin and it's already in Pandora mode, and you can't even use him for benefit, because there's no more Faeria in the wells. So I think Yak Attack's the smarter pick. And since I've been taking so long to analyze on all these picks so far, let's go with the smarter pick, and that's gonna be Yak Attack with the neutral placement and removal potential. Alright, that's rough. I don't want to see a Primeval Colossus with the Triton Banquet. Right here, it's an easy Triton Banquet, guys. If you haven't experienced Triton Banquet, this is probably one of, if not the best removal cards in the game, essentially. If I had a Primeval Colossus and I cast a Triton Banquet on my Primeval Colossus, ram it into their Primeval Colossus, that's game over. Like, if I play my Viridian Force Triton Banquet into a Colossus, game over. Like, it's way too much value for them to really overcome. Lets you save creatures when you need it, lets you jump tiles to attack people unexpectedly. I can't. I would take another 20 minutes out of this 40-minute video to talk about Triton Banquet. It's too good. Too good. Sad to pass the Colossus. We're going to take a Banquet. Alright. And here it's kind of a question of, do we have enough creatures? The Dance is probably the best card in here. I could put a Dance on my Lancer. I could put a Dance on my Warden. Be alright on that guy. Be alright. Be pretty good on him. Good on the Ursus. Yeah, I just think the Dance is probably the best card. It lets you stall games at the very end. It could very easily be this guy. Next creature with 5 life. That's only a couple. That's a lot. I don't think I need that. I think utility... You guys will be surprised at how far utility can get you in this game. Right here, Runin's Champ is too slow. Too slow when compared to these picks. These picks are better and more on curve, and they will determine more games far more than a Runin's Champion would. So I'm probably looking at the Elderwood Hermit. My whole strategy this whole time has been build a gigantic creature, so 2/4 buffs onto any creature is exactly where I want to be right now. Lore Thief, drawing 2 cards, it's really good. Can't complain. I think I'm playing a slow enough deck, like stuff that costs enough mana that I won't be able to play a bunch every single turn, that I will always have cards. Whether or not they're the exact card I need, like, we'll find out. And I always have that plus card button in the game. But an Earlywood, Elderwood, like proccing onto a big creature, that's gonna make some people rage quit. Alright, I already have a single Steamforge, so I don't think it's good in multiples. It's kind of it's a good flavor card early on, like picking one was good on the first pick, but in this situation I think a Farmer Boy is probably better. Some people argue maybe Defender of the Homeland. I've been finding recently, like, the cheaper you can get your farmers out, like, the better. Like, playing a 2/4 that walks to the side of the map and just sits on the side of the map is no better than playing a 1/1 for 1 mana who sits on the side of the map and just does nothing. So if you can play them cheaper, you can get them out on those early turns where maybe you're both really pressed for mana, and you can sneak out a Farm Boy and he picks up a couple orbs. That's just game changing. So I think Farm Boy has the best potential here. Alright, I'm probably leaning towards Queen's Assassin, just because I was talking earlier about how this deck is going to be hard to find removal in, and Queen's Assassin is just removal. Yeah, as simple as that. It's hard to get removal. There's your removal. Bring Moki is good card. Yeah, Elderwood Hermit. Elderwood Hermit's probably the pick, if not Queen's Assassin, just because of how I've been telling you I'm going to execute my strategy. But I think having the removal and the colors that don't really have removal, that's important. Alright, here we're probably looking at another Overgrown Tower, to be honest. I don't mind 2. 5/6 on a taunt is relatively small, and he requires 3 forest, which, like, you're not gonna get right away. You're just not, like, you know, especially without anything that, like, generates forests. Maybe if I had some more forest generators, I'd be more excited about the 5/6. I think just having, like, guaranteeing myself a tower every game, that's gonna be good. I'll put all my buffs on my siege engine and, like, not even care. I can buff my yaks, like, for extra damage there. I can buff my farm boy so he doesn't get pinged by red. I can do a lot. I can do a lot for 2 mana. That's what I'm saying. So let's take a tower and see where that gets us. Oh wow. I was just in my head thinking about, like, how this deck is missing an Apex Predator, and then here comes an Apex Predator. So yeah, Apex Predator, just an absolute threat. In our colors, green and blue, we're already going to be playing those down. We already have gigantic creatures. Like, we're going to just buff something gigantic, and then we're going to play an Apex Predator, and it's going to be something gigantic with jump, and it's going to be just that much more scary. Apex Predator, if you're ever drafting green blue, an absolute bomb, an absolute must pick up. Egg of Wonders, very good. Like, if I had a bunch of Primeval Colossus or Wave Crash Colossus, or, you know, if you got the fat fatties, if you got the big creatures that just come down big and they don't need the buffs, then the Egg of Wonders is great. Right now my minions are more of in the middle, mid-range, and they need the buffs. So Egg of Wonders doesn't fall in that category, but it is a very good card. 5 mana, basically play a minion from your hand. Just a note, if you guys maybe you're, like, following along and seeing if you would draft the orange, like, side by side with me, be careful. Be careful of any spell that costs 5 lands. Like, it's very rare that you're gonna have 5 lands of the same color. Like, you will late game and maybe intentionally early game, but in a lot of cases, you're hindering yourself by playing lands instead of just adding a mana to your pool. All right, guys, easy Apex Predator. Super excited to pick that up. Second to last pick. And final pick of the draft. It looks like an easy punishment. Just removal card, like I said. Grab any removal you can, especially when you're in your green-blue. And here's some removal. So, excellent draft. I'd say overall that went pretty well. Early on, I predicted that I was going to be in green-blue. Just those were the two strongest colors of the three that I was dealt. It's too bad I didn't get to show you guys a red draft. I do feel like red is probably one of the strongest, if not the strongest. It's I don't know. Green and blue are pretty close to each other. They kind of counteract each other. And red is somewhere above or below both those. So you can decide on your own. But they have big creatures and removal spells. So red is actually a pretty exciting color to play in Pandora. But anyways, we saw our three colors: green, blue, yellow, and we knew early on we were probably going to end up green, blue. That allowed us to cheat and take some very early on Elderwood Hermits and early Caretakers, which are kind of the two staples for green. Like early game, buff a minion, make them powerful. I got an Elderwood Embrace, just a great green card for trading. We have bombs in the sense of Siege Engine can just single-handedly win us the game if we protect it. Yak Attack, great large mana removal spell, a couple punishment removal spells. Steam Forge will steamroll if opponents let it get out of hand. And then finish off the game, we got obviously some gigantic Apex Predators, along with a Viridian Force and a Triton Banquet and Gabrian Warden for Divine Shields and protection, and basically all those things that are going to win us the game, guys. Frogify for some hard removal. We'll probably be holding on to that as much as possible, just until they play the absolute most game-winning threat, or when we can play Frogify to guarantee us the win of the game. In these formats, when removal is so sparse, like the final thing I want to leave you with is hold on to your removal, guys. Like hold on to it as much as you can. You either want to be playing it early in the game, like in the sense of my buffs that I'm going to be playing throughout this. You either want to be playing them extremely early and getting the benefit on the trade, or Frogifying extremely early and getting the tempo and just having insane tempo. Or you want to be holding on to your one single Frogify. Like if you're going into a control matchup and you see that it's going to be a long game, you really need to hold that Frogify until it's game winning. Until your opponent has no mana, has no cards, that's when you're playing Frogify. Until then, like you're just on the back foot. Alright guys, thanks for following along. I really appreciate you sticking around. I hope that this was insightful. I really tried to give you guys like a lot of information in one draft. I understand that. It was my first draft video. I like to be in depth. I like to give detail. I like to help you guys out. If you appreciate the content, I appreciate a thumbs up. That helps me circulate these videos around to a whole bunch of viewers. Maybe people that don't even play Faeria and they're interested in it. They didn't even know. They didn't even know this was an option. I like to get my videos popping up in their feeds, and the way we do that is more likes and yeah, comment on the video, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks for checking it out. This is Gimpzilla, and I will see you all next time.